Hey guys, I've done pretty recently a video about all the different visa types available in the Czech Republic. If you haven't seen that, go check my channel, subscribe, whatever, look for the video, and I've made a video about that. But now the next logical step is making a video about all residence types available, because that's basically in many cases the next step after the visa. But there are some options which are not available in the visa category, but you can get them under the long-term residence permit category. And some of them are pretty rare or interesting, I would say. So let's go through everything right now. Generally, there are three types of residence permit in the Czech Republic. First is temporary residence permit, which is only meant for family members of EU citizens. Now I'm talking about non-EU citizens, because EU citizens don't really need to get any residence permit to live in the Czech Republic. So all these are kind of for non-EU citizens, but the temporary residence permit is for family members of EU citizens. Then long-term residence permit, which is for all the other non-EU citizens, like not related to an EU person, and then permanent residence permit. So I'll go through all this. I will always tell you a bit about that. And we've also written an article about this topic, so I will share it in the description of the video. If you prefer reading, you can also, or if you want to go through it in a slower pace, then I'll share it there. So first, for EU family members, the first step to get is so-called partnership visa, or the temporary residence permit for family members of EU citizens. That's meant for both married couples, kids, parents in some cases, those are so-called close family members, and then also the partnership visa for unmarried couples. Then the next step after that, for which you can apply after 2 years or 5 years, depending on which type of temporary residence permit you have, is the permanent residence permit, which basically is the whole grail. Is it whole grail? Like the thing that everyone wants to get, the permanent residence permit, which means that no one will ever kick you out from the Czech Republic. But now let's go to the more interesting ones, which are the ones for non-EU citizens, non-EU citizens not related to EU citizens. So let's start with the most common one, and that's an employee card, which is a residence permit which allows you to work on one specific position for one specific employer and stay here for up to 2 years, and it's renewable. Second option is a Czech blue card. Blue card is similar to an employee card, and is also meant for employment for one employer at one specific position. The difference is that the qualification for a blue card must be higher, and your salary must be higher than generally for the employee card. And also the validity of the card, of the blue card, can be up to 3 years. Next residence permit is a family reunification residence permit, which usually follows the family reunification visa, but it doesn't have to always be like that, depending on how long has the main applicant been in the Czech Republic. For example, if you, as the main applicant, get a blue card, you can bring family members under the long-term residence permit for the family reunification immediately. You don't need to wait for any time, and you can bring them immediately. If you, for example, have the employee card, you have to wait for 6 months. If you have a student visa, for example, student residence permit, you have to wait for 15 months. So then the next one is the student residence permit, which is meant for students of accredited programs of Czech universities. And you can also, when you're applying, basically if you want to study in the Czech Republic, you can choose if you want to apply for a visa or a residence permit under the student purpose of stay. Both of them, or each of them, has advantages and disadvantages. So if you want to know which one is better for you, get in touch. I'll be happy to explain. The next one would be the other residence permit, which generally I cannot imagine that you would apply for without having the other visa first, because that basically follows the long-term visa. So you generally only apply for the other residence permit if you already have the other visa, which mainly applies to students of non-accredited programs. In some cases, it can be different scenarios as well, but generally, if you don't qualify for a student visa, you apply for the other visa, and then after that, other residence permit. Another type which works similarly, that means that you first need to get the long-term visa under the same purpose, and then you can apply for the residence permit, is the business residence permit. You can apply for the business residence permit also like directly without going through the business visa first, but those are very rare cases. For example, if you go through the job seeker residence permit after you have finished your studies, or if you have been living in the Czech Republic for longer than 5 years, then you can also go directly for the residence permit. But in that case, it doesn't really make sense because you can also go for the permanent directly. And now the weird ones, let's say, and a long-term residence permit for the purpose of investment. This might be pretty appealing in some countries like Spain, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah, still working. So in Spain, for example, if you invest, I believe if you buy a property above 500,000 euros, then you kind of automatically get a residence permit and you can live in Spain. Similar programs are in other countries as well, but this is not what the Czech Republic has to offer. In the Czech Republic, you have to make a significant investment. There is no definition of significant investment, but it generally means that it must be investment in millions of euros or tens of millions of euros, not that you want to open like a kebab shop or something, kebab restaurant or something like that. It must be like a significant investment. You need to create like a prediction of how many employees you will be employing, all that. So I have actually never seen anyone applying for this type of investment. I don't know what was the aim of the government when introducing this, but yeah, maybe it has ever worked for someone. I don't know anyone. Intra-company transfer, that's another type of long-term residence permit in the Czech Republic, and that basically means that if you are employed by some company outside of the Czech Republic, say in India, and you want to come to work for a subsidiary of that company in the Czech Republic, and you're either a manager, specialist, or paid intern, then you can apply for this intra-company transfer. From our experience, it's not very common either, because you kind of need to prove the connection between the two companies, and you need to fall under one of these three groups, like manager, specialist, or paid intern. But I've seen cases like that, definitely not too many. So if this is your case, let me know and like write in the comments, and I'll be happy to see how many people actually got the intra-company transfer. I think that's it for the long-term options, and then there is also the permanent residence permit option, but now not related to the EU citizen, because the non-EU citizens related to EU citizens, like you're Indian but you have a Czech wife, or you're an American but you have a Polish wife living in the Czech Republic. You can also get a permanent residency. It's easier and it has different rules than if you apply for a permanent residency as a standard non-EU citizen. For example, non-EU citizens not related to EU citizens must pass the language exam, which is not the case if you have an EU spouse, for example, or a kid. But the outcome is very similar. You basically will be able to stay in the Czech Republic until the end of the world, if you wish. And that's it, guys. Let me know if I forgot some. I'm pretty sure I haven't. But sometimes I get comments like, yeah, you didn't mention this. So if you